Hey there, everyone. I know that you have been reaching out and asking me for strategies and solutions to communicate in these stressful and challenging times. And so many of you are trying to figure out new ways to communicate when you're not used to leading teams in our current reality. Perhaps you're working remotely or virtually for an extended period of time. And, I figure I better ask one of the experts in communication, my colleague and friend, Lauren Sergy, out of beautiful Edmonton, Alberta. And she's here to share with us some of the best suggestions she provides her clients. Welcome, Lauren, and thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah. And you know what you said about communicating in stressful environments is true for everybody right now for a wide variety of reasons. But if we can take comfort in one thing, it's that everyone is stressed. So there's a little bit more understanding out there in terms of dealing with it. And I know that you're under a lot of pressure. I'm under a lot of pressure. Your viewers are. So in terms of the tips that I've got today, we are not doing 5. We are doing 4.
What?
I
But
know.
doesn't it have to be 5 or 10? I mean,
It has to be
4?
the rhythm, right? Like 3, 5, or 10. Well, 3's not enough. We ain't got time or attention span for 5.
So it's 4. 4 is the magic number today. I love
4
it.
is the magic number today. So I will start off with probably one of my favorites. And by the way, everything that we cover here, with the exception of number 4, is applicable to in-person and remote communication.
Good. Awesome.
This is all situations apply. Number 1 that I've got for you is set small goals for your communication. I don't know if you've ever done this, Sarah, but you've said, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to have this conversation with someone, and we are going to solve the world's problems in this sitting. Here's the thing we're going to do.
People are too busy, Lauren, to have more than one conversation. We got to get it all done in one go.
They are, but it's very easy to say, okay, we're just going to talk about this one thing. Like, let's say that we're going to talk about picking a new couch for your living room. Let's take it out of the business world altogether. I am meeting with so-and-so. We're gonna pick a new couch for our business, for our living room. And you decide that in this, 20 minutes that you have, you are going to choose the right size, shape, color, everything to completely fit your lifestyle and make your home complete. When you haven't even figured out what the people who are going to be sitting on the couch want in a couch. So that picking a couch is far too big of a goal. And I like to ask people always, how many minutes do you have to address this thing? Get it down to the absolute minute. And are there going to be any yeah buts or whatabouts or other issues that will need to be discussed to address that goal? And if the answer is, yeah, there's all of these other things, and I've only got X number of minutes, then the killer question is, can you address that thing given that number of minutes? And if the answer is no, you shorten it down. Tiny,
make it a more specific topic. Yeah.
Yep.
Love that.
You hone it down until you can reasonably expect to achieve it. And you have to be very realistic. Don't say, well, if all the stars align. No, very realistic with who you're talking to and who you're talking about. Can we do it in this many minutes?
Because the stars never totally align. I mean, I don't want to be fatalistic here, but let's face it, there's almost always the yeah, but we didn't anticipate, another issue, an interruption. If we're remote, somebody joins late to the meeting because their Wi-Fi, their kid spills juice all over their lap, they got to get up. I mean, perfect is probably not what we're aiming for right now. So what a great tip for people being able to realistically look at how much we can discuss, communicate, share in the time that we have. Great tip. Love it.
And keep in mind, you're probably going to spend a few minutes in banter at first. So take that away from the time you've got. If you need to ask about John's grandkids, well, that's 5 minutes of time that you now can't address, that you can't use to address your goals. So you keep cinching it down until you have this teeny tiny little communication goal that you can achieve. And following up on that
is another tip though, Lauren, because really that's about setting up us to be able to have a more productive conversation. Because if we haven't touched base and checked in with each other, then people feel like you're just a talking head, it's corporate speak. People
Yeah.
need to feel heard and valued and appreciated anytime, but particularly if this is our only opportunity to communicate and we're not even physically in the same room. So much more important. Banter is not just a waste of time. It's
No.
necessary connection time.
It's a social ritual, and it often needs to happen for other communication to happen. So like I said, if you don't factor in those human things that you need to do to get to the conversation, then you're going to overestimate the amount of time you have to have that conversation, and you will set too large a goal. So get it down to the minute that you have. And then once you have figured out what you think that is, contact the other person, usually via email or text or whatever, but asynchronous contact, and get them to agree on the topic, the thing that you're going to discuss, and the outcome of the discussion. We are going to talk about X and make a decision on Y.
Yeah.
Because then both of you have the same North Star for the conversation. You're not wondering where the conversation is going to go, and both of you can hit the ground running. And knowing what to expect out of something is one of the fastest stress relievers. If the other person says, well, they told me I'm going to talk about that she's going to talk about a couch, but I that's a weird kettle of fish, because can of worms, something like that. I'm mixing my metaphors. It's all good. That's a weird little can of worms, because last time this happened, then we went off there. Now, let them know what the goal is, what the outcome is, and then everyone knows what to expect. And it hugely decreases stress because you can focus. You can focus and be strategic and specific.
Yeah,
focus is everything.
And even in the context of a team event, a team meeting, I know lots of my clients, even though they're not physically together, they're having daily huddles, or they're having weekly meetings, or even their monthly staff meeting. Sending that information out ahead of time about what to expect, and maybe doing a verification on, was there anything else you needed to talk about? Message me, and giving people enough lead time. To your point, it reduces stress. It almost gets confirmation and a shared sense of ownership. And I suspect more people are going to show up for that meeting because they're not stressed, and because they know there's some important things that are going to be discussed.
And they know they're going to get something done.
Mm-hmm.
Creating a productive communication space where at the end of the conversation, you achieved what it was you said you would achieve, encourages people to then want to engage with you more.
Yeah.
So never have an agendaless meeting. Even if it's a social meeting with a friend. Hey, Sarah, I really need to talk to you about this. I got something I got to get off my chest. So just to let you know, at some point during this call, I am going to go ballistic about the kids' schedules.
Right.
Now everyone knows what to expect.
Well, and viewers, to pull back the curtain on this conversation, we did that, didn't we? We had an asynchronous conversation via email confirming what we were going to talk about in this video. So, to your point, this perhaps wouldn't have gone as well had it not been for that. So we even practiced what you just suggested. So
darn straight. It's a little bit of planning. It's a little bit of planning that goes a hugely long way. Yeah. Now, once you've got that figured out, I want you to eliminate the distractions in the communication space. This does happen with in-person, absolutely. So, make sure that the dog isn't going to be scratching at the door, or whatever your distraction in your space might be when you're actually talking to people one-on-one. But it's especially pertinent when you're on the phone or when you're online, because it's so easy to have all those tabs and windows open. And it's so easy to have that appliance running in the background. But when the appliance starts beeping, it's going to distract you. Your little lizard brain for half a second will go, I need to address that. Right. And then you have to spend a chunk of your attention span actively ignoring all of those open tabs on your screen. That increases your mental load. That increases the number of decisions you're making at any point in time, and that ratchets your stress through the roof. So eliminate distractions, close the windows and tabs, turn off the appliances, communicate your schedule with everyone who might be sharing the space with you. That could be your coworkers, that could be your spouse, that could be your kids. I mark down my meeting schedule because I'm working at home, of course. I write down my meeting schedule on a sticky note, and I put this sucker on the microwave because that's where everyone looks in the morning. So I tell them, And then I post it up so no one is wondering when I'm available and when I'm not. And then I'm not as stressed out either. And it's less likely that I'm going to have to shoo an errant child out of the room. I say less likely, 'cause nothing is
I
guaranteed.
don't know, it'd be fun if there was a child photo bomb somewhere in this video, but you know, that's okay.
It could happen.
It could happen. It could happen. But no,
Yeah.
it's a great point, like turning off your phones. If you do a virtual meeting through Zoom, through GoToMeetings, what have you, maybe setting up from the beginning how people should or shouldn't use the chat, the Q&A
Yep.
feature. If you're going to Zoom people out into breakout rooms, let people know that's coming, so that again, because that could be part of the mental load, couldn't it? Is
Hugely.
I wonder how we're going to have this meeting, especially if you're not in that particular forum. So I really like that idea of setting yourself up and other people up for a distraction-free, ability to be able to really focus and concentrate.
Yeah. And the thing with this distraction-free communication is that it's something that we all know we should be doing. We all know we should be doing, but in the fluster and the bustle and everything else of interacting with someone, we tend to forget, or we think, well, it's not that important. It is that important. I don't know how high your heart rate goes when that distraction or whatever, in my case, the ultimate one is one of the kids getting downstairs and starting to scratch at my office door. My heart rate goes through the roof when that happens, and so does my stress level. So I have these things, these steps on notes. I'm a Post-it note fan, and I go through them. I look at them every time I sit down for a communication, because otherwise I will forget.
Yeah.
One more for you.
Yoo-hoo.
I will demonstrate. And this is specifically for online video conferencing. It's like magic. It's like magic, isn't it? Turn off the cameras. Not a word of a lie. Ask people if they want to turn off the cameras. Because at this point, video conferencing, being on camera, has its own kind and degree of stress. And because we're doing it so much, it feels like we're always on and there's additional pressure. So changing it from on screen to off screen, at this stage, what are we, about 4 months into quarantine, depending on where you are? I'm talking to people who do 5 or 6 video conferences a day. The act of turning off a camera for them is huge. It's huge in terms of their stress level. I'll put it back on now. It's huge in terms of their stress level, because now they don't need to be worrying about eye contact. They can leave their pajama bottoms on and not worry about anyone seeing them. But it's one less thing that you now need to do. And don't get me wrong, I love video conferencing. But when you're doing too much of it, our behaviors on video conference change in terms of communication. And so then saying, hey, can we turn the cameras off, or can we do it by phone? You might discover that the person on the other end of the line just heaves a sigh of relief.
Well, and to your point around, because you can go on or off camera, to have that as part of the rules, the discussion that you talked about, setting it up for success. Let's get as distraction free. Will that be videos on, videos off? Maybe in fact easier to have your video on. And in that case, we all have to know ahead of time that the meeting is going to be video on. So if you want to do your hair or your makeup or change into some pants with a button, then you know ahead of time, rather than, all right, I see people don't have their cameras on. Could everybody please put their cameras on? You're like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in my laundry room. I can't do that right now. So,
absolutely. And there have been a couple instances where I've been on camera with someone, particularly right now, because for so many people, their kids aren't in daycare or their kids aren't home. And I've got a number of clients who have young children, and they're trying to video conference with me from their home, which is a disheveled mess because of the situation we're in. And they can't stop apologizing for it. Like, I'm so sorry my space looks this way. Like, this isn't what I'm normally like. And they're so self-conscious. And I'll say, turn the camera off.
Yeah.
Bloop.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Huge sigh of relief. So there's different reasons for turning them off. There's different reasons for turning them on, but that's an option.
Yep, it is. And I love how we talked about it being an intentional decision and letting people know ahead of time. Great point around energy management. So much of what we talked about is emotional, cognitive, and energy management. And that is definitely what we have in short supply, all three of those things. So thank you
Amen.
so much, Lauren. Any other suggestions, any other parting thoughts? And also don't forget to let us know how we can connect with you.
The big suggestion I would have in mind is don't put too much pressure on yourself to be perfect when you are in these communication scenarios, because everyone is stressed right now, which also means that we understand when things are going sideways on your end and you're stressed too. One good thing is that there is a lot of understanding of all of the different plates everybody has to juggle at the moment. So if you think you made a mistake or if things didn't go as well as you hoped, don't beat yourself up. There will always be another conversation and another meeting that you can have. And as far as making those other conversations and meetings and everything go well, head on over to laurensergy.com. That's Lauren, Lauren, Sergy.com. I've got loads of information like this on the blog, throughout the website. There's lots of stuff you can check out to help with these communication circumstances.
Thank you so much. I'm super grateful that you were willing to share your expertise with us today, Lauren. And good on you about the Post-it note. Not one child scratchy noise. So it worked. It works, everybody.
It works.
See you later. Have a great day.
Take care.